The prayer wasn't supposed to make her cry. But when the 5-year-old boy bowed his head at the Thanksgiving table and asked God to let the nanny stay forever, Emma's heart shattered. Because 3 days earlier, she'd been nobody. Just another overlooked woman in an apron hired to watch a child while his billionaire father's world collapsed around them. Now, she was the only person standing between Damien Cross and absolute ruin. The company was dying. $2 billion evaporating in real time. The best minds in Silicon Valley couldn't stop it. Emergency consultants flew in from 3 continents. Every one of them failed. And in 72 hours, it would all be gone. But Damien Cross didn't know what his new nanny was hiding. He didn't know about the genius she'd buried, the betrayal that broke her, the reason a woman brilliant enough to change the world was reading bedtime stories for a living. He didn't know that the answer to his crisis was standing in his kitchen making chocolate chip pancakes for his son. And he definitely didn't know that letting her into his home would change everything. Some people are hired to watch children. Emma Hart was hired to watch a child. But what she saved was so much more. This is the story of the nanny who saw what the experts missed, and the Thanksgiving prayer that broke her wide open. Before we get into the story, kindly let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this story, please like the video so other people just like you can find this video too. Now, let's get into it. Emma Hart had been a nanny for exactly 72 hours when she realized Damien Cross, the billionaire, was falling apart. Not the kind of falling apart that gets discussed in boardrooms or reported in financial newsletters. This was something deeper, quieter. The kind of breakdown that happens behind closed doors when a man runs out of options and the weight of the world finally crushes him. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night in November. She'd just finished reading Where the Wild Things Are to Leo for the 3rd time that evening. The boy had fallen asleep clutching a stuffed elephant named Mr. Trunk, his small chest rising and falling in that peaceful rhythm only children seem to master. Emma tucked the blanket around his shoulders and turned off the bedside lamp. The glow from the nightlight cast soft shadows across his face. He looked peaceful, innocent. Nothing like the traumatized child she'd been warned about during the interview. 14 nannies in 2 years, that's what the agency had told her. 14 women who couldn't handle a grieving 5-year-old who refused to speak. But Leo hadn't been difficult with Emma, not once. On her first day, he'd simply looked at her with those enormous brown eyes and handed her a drawing of a tree. She'd smiled and asked if she could hang it on the refrigerator. He'd nodded. That was the entire interaction. By day 2, he was sitting next to her during breakfast. By day 3, he'd fallen asleep holding her hand. Emma wasn't a miracle worker. She'd just done what seemed obvious. She treated him like a person, not a problem to be solved. But as she walked down the hallway that Tuesday night, past the family photos that showed a laughing woman with dark hair, Damien's late wife, Catherine, she heard something that made her stop. A sound coming from the home office at the end of the hall. It wasn't crying, exactly. More like the quiet gasping of someone trying very hard not to cry and failing. She should have kept walking. Should have gone to her room, minded her business, remembered her place. She was the nanny, nothing more. But Emma had never been good at minding her business. It was one of her many problems. She approached the office door. It was cracked open, light spilling into the dark hallway. Through the gap, she could see Damien Cross sitting at his desk, head in his hands, surrounded by chaos. Papers everywhere. 3 laptops open. Coffee cups forming rings on documents that probably cost more than her car. And on the largest monitor, lines of code scrolling past in angry red text. Error. 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 Emma's breath caught. She knew that pattern. She'd seen it before, years ago, in a different life. A life she'd spent 3 years trying to forget. Damien didn't notice her. He was too busy staring at his phone like it was a bomb about to detonate. Then it rang. He answered. "Marcus, tell me you found something." His voice was hoarse, desperate. A pause. "That's not good enough. We have 6 days. 6 days before the investor meeting, and if we can't prove the system is stable, they're pulling $300 million. Do you understand what that means? The company dies. Everything we built, everything Kat believed in, gone." Another pause. Longer this time. No, I don't want to hear about what's theoretically possible. I want solutions. "You're the CTO, Marcus. Fix this." He ended the call and hurled the phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. Emma flinched. For a long moment, Damien just sat there, staring at nothing. Then he started gathering the scattered papers with shaking hands, trying to create order from the disaster around him. That's when Emma saw it. One of the documents had fallen near the doorway, close enough to read. Her eyes scanned the page automatically. Code architecture, system logs, error reports. And there, buried in the technical jargon, something that didn't make sense. The timestamp was wrong. It was a small thing. The kind of detail that only someone who'd spent years studying system failures would notice. But it was there. Emma's mind started racing. If the timestamp was corrupted, that meant the error wasn't coming from where they thought it was coming from, which meant the entire diagnostic approach was wrong, which meant, "Can I help you with something?" Damien's voice cut through her thoughts like a knife. Emma looked up. He was standing now, staring at her from across the room. His eyes were bloodshot. His normally perfect hair was a mess. He'd loosened his tie at some point, and his sleeves were rolled up to his elbows. He looked like a man at war with himself. "I'm sorry," Emma said quickly. "I heard a noise. I wanted to make sure everything was okay." "Everything's fine." It was obviously a lie. "Okay," Emma said. "Good night, then." She turned to leave. "Wait." She stopped. Damien walked over and picked up the document near her feet. As he bent down, his eyes caught on the papers scattered across his desk, and something in his expression crumbled. "Is Leo asleep?" he asked quietly. "Yes. He went down about 20 minutes ago." "Did he say anything?" The hope in his voice broke her heart. "No," Emma said gently. "But he smiled when I did the monster voice for Max. From the book." Damien nodded slowly. He used to laugh at that part. Before his mother died. The words hung in the air, unspoken. Emma should have left then. Should have offered some generic condolence and walked away. Instead, she said, "Mr. Cross, I don't mean to overstep, but whatever's happening with your company, have you considered that you might be looking in the wrong place?" He stared at her. "Excuse me?" "The error pattern on your screen. I just noticed." "Never mind. I'm sorry. It's not my place." "No, go ahead." His tone was somewhere between curious and annoyed. "Please, enlighten me." Emma hesitated. This was dangerous territory. But she'd already opened her mouth, and the problem solver in her, the part she'd tried to bury for 3 years, was clawing its way to the surface. "The cascade failure you're seeing, it doesn't look like a hack or corruption. The pattern is too clean, too organized. If I had to guess, I'd say someone built this failure into the system intentionally." Damien's expression shifted from annoyance to something sharper. "How do you know what my screen says?" "I saw it, just now, when I walked past." "And you can read code?" "I used to." "Used to." He stepped closer. "What does that mean?" "It means I don't anymore." But you could? Emma felt her chest tighten. This conversation was going somewhere she didn't want it to go. Mr. Cross. Damien. Damien, I'm your son's nanny, that's all. I shouldn't have said anything. But you did say something. And what you said is more useful than anything I've heard from the team of engineers I've had working around the clock for 4 days. He was looking at her differently now. Not like she was the help, like she was a puzzle he needed to solve. Who are you? He asked. I told you. I'm the nanny. Right. A nanny who reads system architecture and identifies logic bombs at a glance. He crossed his arms. Try again. Emma swallowed hard. I have a background in computer science, that's all. What kind of background? Does it matter? It does, if you can help me save my company. The room fell into a heavy quiet. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows. Somewhere in the house, a clock chimed midnight. Emma thought about her sister, about the medical bills stacking up in her apartment, about the reason she'd taken this job in the first place because it paid 3 times what normal nanny positions offered, and she was running out of options. She thought about the algorithm she'd designed 4 years ago, the one that had been stolen from her, the one that had destroyed her career and her faith in the world. And she thought about the little boy sleeping down the hall, who'd handed her his drawing of a tree and made her feel, for the first time in years, like maybe she wasn't completely broken. If I look at your system, Emma said slowly, I need you to understand something. I'm not an engineer anymore. I left that world, and I left it for good reasons. So if I do this, it's a one-time thing. And after, we never talk about it again. Damien studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Deal. 1 hour, Emma said. That's all I can give you. 1 hour. She stepped into the office. And just like that, everything changed. 47 minutes. That's how long it took Emma to find what Damien's entire tech team had missed. She worked in complete focus, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she navigated through layers of code that would have looked like gibberish to most people. But to Emma, it was a language she'd once spoken fluently. Damien sat across from her, watching in stunned disbelief as she dismantled his system piece by piece, tracing the failure back to its source. There, she said finally, pointing at the screen. That's your problem. Damien leaned forward. What am I looking at? A logic bomb. Someone coded this into your system months ago, maybe longer. It was designed to activate on a specific date and create a cascade failure that would look like external corruption. But it's not. It's sabotage. The color drained from Damien's face. Sabotage. You're saying someone inside my company did this? Yes? That's impossible. My team is vetted. We have security protocols, background checks. Security protocols don't catch betrayal, Emma said quietly, especially if the person doing the betraying knows exactly how your systems work. Damien stood abruptly and paced to the window. For a long moment, he just stared out at the darkness. Can you find out who did it? He asked. Maybe. But it'll take time, and access to your full employee database, server logs, everything. You'll have it. Mr. Cross. Damien. Please call me Damien. Damien. I'm not a forensic analyst. I'm not even supposed to be doing this. If you want real answers, you need to bring in professionals. He turned to face her. The professionals have been here for 4 days and found nothing. You've been here 47 minutes and just uncovered corporate espionage. He walked back to the desk. I don't know who you are or why you're working as a nanny when you clearly have skills that could land you any job in Silicon Valley. And frankly, I don't care. What I care about is saving the company my late wife and I built from the ground up. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Will you help me?" Emma looked at him. Really looked at him. She saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the grief he carried like a second skin, the desperation of a man who'd already lost the most important person in his world and couldn't bear to lose anything else. She saw herself 3 years ago, broken and alone, wishing someone had cared enough to fight for her. "I need to tell you something first," she said. "Okay." "My name is Emma Hart. I was a PhD candidate at Stanford, specializing in artificial intelligence systems. 4 years ago, I designed an algorithm that could predict system failures before they happened. It was revolutionary. It was going to be my dissertation." She paused, the old wound aching. "My advisor, Dr. Richard Brennan, stole it, published it under his name. When I tried to fight back, he accused me of academic dishonesty and got me expelled. I lost everything. My reputation, my career, my future. I had a breakdown, ended up in therapy for 8 months. When I came out the other side, I decided I was done with tech, done with ambition, done with trusting people in positions of power." Damien's expression softened. "Emma, I took this job because I needed money. My younger sister, Mia, has leukemia. She's 23. The treatments are experimental and insurance won't cover them. I send her every dollar I can, but it's never enough. So when your agency offered me this position with a salary that could actually make a difference, I took it. Not because I wanted to be a nanny, because I was out of options." She met his eyes. "If I help you, I'm stepping back into a world that chewed me up and spit me out, and I'm risking that it'll happen again. So I need you to promise me something. Anything. If this goes wrong, if whoever did this comes after me, you protect me, because I can't survive being destroyed twice." Damien walked around the desk until he was standing directly in front of her. When he spoke, his voice was firm, certain. "I promise. On my son's life, I will protect you." Emma believed him. "Okay," she said. "Let's find out who's trying to ruin you." Over the next 3 days, Emma and Damien worked side by side, unraveling the conspiracy that threatened to destroy everything he'd built. She moved through his company's systems like a detective at a crime scene, finding traces that others had overlooked, digital fingerprints, patterns in the code, tiny inconsistencies that pointed to one undeniable conclusion. The sabotage was coming from inside the inner circle. They worked late into the night, every night. Damien would put Leo to bed, then return to the office where Emma was already deep in the code, a mug of coffee growing cold beside her. At first, their conversations stayed strictly professional. But as the hours stretched on and exhaustion lowered their walls, things shifted. "Can I ask you something?" Damien said on the second night, around 2 a.m. Emma didn't look up from the screen. "Sure," she replied. "Why didn't you fight harder? When your advisor stole your work, you're clearly brilliant. You could have taken it to the media, found a lawyer, made noise." Emma's hands stopped typing. "I tried. For 6 months I tried everything. But he was a tenured professor with 30 years of reputation behind him. I was a grad student with no money and no proof. The university chose to believe him. After a while, I realized I had 2 options. Keep fighting and destroy myself in the process, or walk away and try to build something new. So you walked away." "I survived," There's a difference. Damien was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry that happened to you. Yeah, me too. Another pause. For what it's worth, he said, the algorithm you designed, the one that got stolen, it's used in half the tech infrastructure in the country now, including mine. Which means you've been protecting systems you didn't even know existed. Your work matters, Emma, even if no one knows it's yours. Something in Emma's chest cracked open. She'd spent 3 years believing her work had been erased, that she'd been erased. Hearing that it still existed, that it was still helping people, even anonymously, it was almost too much. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For reminding me who I used to be. Their eyes met across the desk, and for just a second, the air between them shifted into something neither of them was ready to name. Then Damien's phone buzzed. The moment broke. He glanced at the screen and sighed. Marcus again. Wants an update. Marcus Chen, the CTO, Damien's best friend since college. Emma had been analyzing his access logs for the past 6 hours, and what she'd found made her stomach turn. Damien, she said carefully, I need to show you something. The evidence was damning. Marcus Chen had embedded the logic bomb himself, buried deep in a system update he'd pushed through 8 months ago. He'd been siphoning investor information, leaking proprietary data to a shell company, and positioning himself to swoop in and buy the collapsing business for pennies on the dollar. It was the perfect crime. Or it would have been if Emma hadn't found the thread and pulled. Damien stared at the screen in disbelief. No. No, this is wrong. Marcus would never. The logs don't lie, Emma said gently. He's been planning this for months. He was at my wedding. He held Leo when he was born. When Kat died, he was the one who, Damien's voice broke. He's my best friend. I know. I'm sorry. Damien stood abruptly and walked to the window. His hands were shaking. Emma watched him process the betrayal, watched the grief and rage war across his face. She knew that feeling. The moment you realize the person you trusted most was the one holding the knife. What do I do? He asked quietly. You call an emergency board meeting. You present the evidence. You let them handle it. They'll never believe me, Damien replied. Marcus has been with the company since the beginning. He's respected, connected. They'll believe the data. I'll walk them through it. Damien turned to look at her. You do that? I didn't come this far to watch you lose. Something passed between them then. Gratitude, trust, and underneath it all, something warmer, something dangerous. Emma, Damien said, his voice low. When this is over. The door burst open. Leo stood in the doorway in his dinosaur pajamas, clutching Mr. Trunk. His eyes were wide and frightened. Damien immediately shifted into dad mode. Hey, buddy. What's wrong? Bad dream? Leo didn't respond. He just walked straight to Emma and reached for her hand. She took it without hesitation. It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe. Leo looked up at her. Then, so quietly she almost missed it, he whispered a single word. Stay. Emma's breath caught. What? Stay. His voice was small but clear, real. The first word he'd spoken out loud to another person in 2 years. Damien's hand flew to his mouth. Tears filled his eyes. Emma knelt down to Leo's level. I'm not going anywhere, Leo, I promise. The little boy wrapped his arms around her neck and held on tight. And for the first time since Catherine Cross died, Damien let himself hope that maybe, just maybe, his family could be whole again. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for the day before Thanksgiving. Damien had called in every board member, every major investor, and every department head. The conference room at Cross Industries was packed. Marcus sat at the table, looking calm and confident. He had no idea what was coming. Emma stood at the back of the room, a laptop in her hands and her heart in her throat. She hadn't been in a boardroom in 3 years, hadn't presented research or defended findings or put herself in a position to be questioned by people with power. Every instinct told her to run. But then she thought about Leo, whispering, "Stay in the dark." She thought about Damien, trusting her when no one else would. She thought about her sister, fighting for her life in a hospital bed 3 states away. And she stayed. Damien opened the meeting. "Thank you all for coming on short notice. I know this is the day before Thanksgiving, and you all have places to be. But what I'm about to share with you couldn't wait." He nodded to Emma. She stepped forward, connected her laptop to the projector, and began. 4 days ago, Cross Industries experienced a catastrophic system failure that threatened the entire company. Initial diagnostics suggested external corruption or a sophisticated hack. But the truth is much simpler. You were sabotaged from the inside. The room erupted in murmurs. Emma pulled up the first slide. Code logs, timestamps, access records. This logic bomb was planted 8 months ago by someone with deep system knowledge and administrative access. It was designed to activate the week before your investor meeting, creating panic and devaluing the company. Once the stock price crashed, the saboteur could buy controlling shares through a shell company and essentially steal the business. "This is absurd," one of the board members said. "Who would even have that level of access?" Emma pulled up the next slide. Marcus Chen's access logs. The room went dead quiet. Marcus stood slowly. "This is a setup. I don't know who this woman is, but she's clearly been manipulated or paid off to." "Her name is Emma Hart," Damien interrupted, "and she's the only reason we're not filing for bankruptcy right now." "She's a nanny!" Marcus shouted. "Why the hell is a nanny presenting to the board about system security?" "Because the experts failed," Damien said coldly. "You failed, Marcus. Or rather, you succeeded at exactly what you planned. You just didn't count on someone smarter than you finding out." Marcus's face went red. "You're going to believe some random woman over me? Your best friend? The person who's been by your side since day one?" "I believe the evidence," Damien said. "Show them the rest, Emma." Emma's hands were shaking, but she pulled up the financial records. The shell company, the offshore accounts, the communications with rival investors. It was airtight. One of the board members leaned forward. "Marcus, do you have a response to this?" Marcus looked around the room, realizing he was cornered. Then his eyes landed on Emma, and they filled with venom. "You want to know who she really is?" he spat. "She's a fraud, a disgraced Stanford dropout who was expelled for academic dishonesty. Look it up. Emma Hart, thrown out of her program for stealing her professor's work and trying to pass it off as her own. And you're all sitting here taking her seriously?" Emma felt the blood drain from her face. There it was. The lie that had followed her for 3 years. The reputation she couldn't escape. Some of the board members were already pulling out their phones, searching her name. "Is this true?" one of them asked. "Were you expelled?" Emma's voice came out smaller than she wanted. "Yes, but it wasn't." "She's a liar," Marcus pressed. "A con artist. And she's clearly convinced Damien to destroy me for reasons I can't begin to understand. Don't let her manipulate you the way she's manipulated him." Damien stepped forward. "That's enough," he said in a very commanding tone. But the damage was done. Emma could see it in their faces. The doubt. The suspicion. She'd known this would happen. Known that her past would be used as a weapon the moment she stepped back into this world. She should have stayed invisible. "Actually," a voice said from the back of the room, "I'd like to address that." Everyone turned. An older man in an expensive suit stood up. Emma recognized him vaguely, one of the board members, Gerald something. "I'm Gerald Whitmore," he said. "I've been in tech for 40 years. And about 3 years ago, I attended a conference at Stanford where a young PhD candidate presented the most innovative AI algorithm I'd ever seen. It predicted system failures with 97% accuracy. Absolutely revolutionary." He looked at Emma. "That candidate was you, Miss Hart. And 6 months later I saw that same algorithm published under Dr. Richard Brennan's name. I remember thinking it was odd, because the writing style was completely different from his usual work, but I didn't question it. I should have." Emma's throat tightened. "The academic world failed you," Gerald continued. "They chose reputation over truth. But your work has been the backbone of system security across this industry for years. I've personally implemented it in 3 companies. So when Marcus here tries to discredit you, what I hear is a guilty man grasping at straws." He turned to the rest of the board. "The data speaks for itself. Marcus Chen sabotaged this company, and Miss Hart saved it." One by one, the board members nodded. Marcus tried to protest, but security was already being called. Within 20 minutes, he was escorted out of the building, his access revoked, his reputation destroyed. The company was saved. Emma stood in the conference room afterward, trembling from the adrenaline crash. Damien approached her slowly. "You did it." "We did it," she corrected. "No, you did it, and you were incredible." She looked up at him, and the gratitude in his eyes was almost too much to bear. "I need to go," she said suddenly. "I need air." She left before he could respond. Emma made it to the parking garage before she fell apart. 3 years of suppressed pain came pouring out in gut-wrenching sobs. She leaned against a concrete pillar and let herself break. She'd been vindicated, believed, respected, but it didn't erase what had been done to her, didn't give her back the years she'd lost or the confidence that had been shattered. She cried for the girl she used to be, the one who believed hard work and talent were enough, the one who trusted the system to protect her. That girl was gone. "Emma." She looked up. Damien was there, his expression full of concern. "I'm fine," she lied, wiping her face. "You're not." "I will be. I just need a minute." He stepped closer. "You saved everything. The company, the investors, my career. Do you understand that?" "I just did what needed to be done." "No. You did what no one else could do. He reached out and gently tilted her chin up so she had to meet his eyes. "You're the most brilliant person I've ever met, Emma Hart. And the bravest. And I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. Because you didn't just save my company. You brought my son back. You gave him a reason to speak again. You gave me a reason to hope again." His hand was still on her face. His thumb brushed away a tear. "Emma," he whispered, His phone rang. The moment shattered. He pulled back, apologizing, and answered. It was the board, needing him back upstairs. "I have to go," he said reluctantly. "But we're not done with this conversation." Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. He left. And she stood alone in the parking garage, wondering what the hell she'd just gotten herself into. The next day was Thanksgiving. Emma had planned to leave, to collect her things, cash her paycheck, and disappear back into the anonymous life she'd been living before Damien Cross turned everything upside down. But when she started packing, Leo appeared in her doorway. "You're leaving?" he asked. His voice was still quiet, still uncertain, but it was there. I don't know," Emma admitted. "Daddy said you might stay." "Did he?" Leo nodded. He walked over and climbed onto her bed, sitting next to the half-packed suitcase. "Are you scared?" The question surprised her. "Why would you think that?" "Because I get scared too, when things are good, because I think they'll go away again." Emma's heart broke. "Leo," she whispered softly. "Mommy went away," he said simply, "and all the other nannies went away. But you're different. You don't look at me like I'm broken." "You're not broken, sweetheart," said Emma. "I know. You told me that, and I believe you." He looked up at her with those enormous brown eyes. "But if you leave, I'll think maybe you were wrong. Maybe I am broken, and that's why everyone goes." Emma pulled him into a hug. "Leo Cross, you listen to me. You are smart and kind and so loved. And if people leave, it's not because of you. It's because they didn't understand how lucky they were to know you." "Then don't leave," he whispered. "Please." Before Emma could respond, Damien appeared in the doorway. "Leo, I thought we talked about giving Emma space." "It's okay," Emma said quickly. Damien looked at the suitcase. His expression fell. "You're really going?" "I don't know," Emma said honestly. "This was only supposed to be temporary. The crisis is over. You don't need me anymore." "That's not true," Damien replied. "Damien," she started to say, but he cut her off instantaneously. "Stay for Thanksgiving," he said. "Just one more day. Let us say thank you properly. After that, if you still want to leave, I won't stop you." Emma looked at Leo, who was staring at her with hope written all over his face. She was so tired of running. "Okay," she said. "One more day." The Cross family Thanksgiving was nothing like Emma expected. She'd imagined something grand, catered, formal. Instead, it was just the three of them in the kitchen making a mess. Damien admitted he hadn't cooked a turkey since Catherine died. Emma admitted she'd never cooked a turkey at all. Leo helpfully suggested they order pizza. They compromised. Damien handled the turkey with significant help from YouTube tutorials. Emma made mashed potatoes and green beans, and Leo was in charge of setting the table and taste-testing everything. It was chaotic. Flour ended up on the floor. The smoke alarm went off twice. Leo got whipped cream on his nose and left white fingerprints on every surface. And Emma couldn't remember the last time she'd been this happy. Around 6 p.m., they sat down to eat. The table was covered in mismatched dishes, half of them slightly burned, all of them made with love. Damien raised his glass of wine. "I think we're supposed to say what we're thankful for." "I'm thankful for Emma," Leo said immediately. Emma's eyes stung. "Leo. And for Daddy, and Mr. Trunk, and that the smoke alarm stopped beeping." They all laughed. Damien looked at Emma. "I'm thankful that the most brilliant woman I've ever met walked into my house and decided to stay, even when she had every reason to run." Emma's breath caught. "I'm thankful for second chances," she managed, "and for people who see you, even when you're trying to hide." Their eyes held across the table. "Okay," Damien said softly. "Before we eat, does anyone want to say a prayer, or—" "I do," Leo interrupted. Both adults looked at him in surprise. Leo folded his hands the way his mother had taught him years ago. And then, in a clear, steady voice, he spoke. "Dear God, thank you for sending Emma to us. She reads me stories every night, and she doesn't treat me like I'm weird because I don't talk a lot. She helped Daddy when he was sad, and she makes really good pancakes. I know Mommy is in heaven with you, and I miss her a lot, but I think maybe you sent Emma because you knew we needed someone, and I really, really hope she stays forever and doesn't leave like the other nannies, because I love her. So if it's okay, can she be part of our family? Please? Amen." The room was completely still. Emma couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Tears were streaming down her face faster than she could wipe them away. Leo looked at her with concern. "Why are you crying? Did I say something wrong?" "No, baby," Emma choked out. "You said everything right." She pulled him into her arms and held him like she'd never let go. Damien stood and walked around the table. He knelt next to Emma's chair, his own eyes wet. "He's right," Damien said quietly. "We need you, Emma. Not as the nanny, not as the person who saved the company, as family, as the person who brought light back into this house. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But I'm falling in love with you, and I think you feel it too." Emma looked at him through her tears. "Damien, You don't have to answer now, but please, stay. Give us a chance to be what we're supposed to be." Leo was looking between them with hope written all over his little face. And Emma realized that she'd spent 3 years hiding from the world because she was afraid of being hurt again. But here, in this messy kitchen with these two broken people who saw her for exactly who she wasn't afraid anymore. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll stay." Leo cheered. Damien pulled her into his arms and held her like she was the answer to a prayer he'd been too scared to say out loud. And for the first time in 3 years, Emma Hart let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved to be loved. Spring came to Silicon Valley like a promise. Emma stood in the conference room at Cross Industries, presenting her new AI security protocol to a room full of investors. She was the company's CTO now, having taken Marcus's position after months of proving herself. Her algorithm, the one that had been stolen years ago, was now officially patented under her name. Damien had hired the best lawyers in the country to fight Stanford and Dr. Brennan, and after 4 months of legal battles, they'd won. Emma Hart was no longer a disgraced dropout. She was a pioneer. After the presentation, she returned to her office to find flowers on her desk, a note in Damien's handwriting. "Brilliant as always. Dinner tonight?" She smiled. They'd been taking things slow, dating properly, building something real. Leo was thriving. He spoke more every day, laughed often, and had even started calling her Mama Emma when he thought no one was listening. Her sister Mia's treatments were working. The experimental therapy, funded by Emma's new salary and Damien's quiet financial support, had put her cancer into remission. Everything Emma had lost, she'd found again. But better this time. Stronger. That evening, she arrived home, and yes, it was home now to find Damien and Leo in the kitchen, attempting to bake a cake. "What's the occasion?" she asked. Leo grinned, covered in frosting. "It's a surprise." Damien walked over and kissed her. "Happy 6-month anniversary." "Of what?" she smiled as she replied. "Of the day you decided to stay," said Damien. Her heart melted. After dinner, after cake, after Leo went to bed, Emma and Damien sat on the back patio under the stars. "I have something for you," Damien said. He handed her a small box. Emma opened it. Inside was a key. "What's this?" "The key to the house. Officially. I want you to move in. Completely. No more keeping 1 foot out the door in case you need to run." Emma stared at the key, at the symbol of permanence she'd been too afraid to accept for so long. "Damien, I love you," he said simply. "Leo loves you. We want you here, fully, forever, if you'll have us." Emma looked at this man who'd trusted her when no one else would, who'd fought for her, protected her, loved her. She thought about the girl who'd walked into this house 6 months ago, broken and hiding. That girl was gone. In her place was a woman who'd been tested and had come out stronger. A woman who'd saved an empire and found a family. A woman who was ready to stop running. "Yes," Emma said, taking the key. "I'll have you. Forever." Damien kissed her as the stars shone overhead. And somewhere inside, Leo whispered a prayer of thanks to his mother in heaven, grateful that she'd sent them exactly who they needed. The next Thanksgiving was different. The table was full. Emma's sister Mia was there, healthy and laughing. Gerald Whitmore and his wife had joined them. Even Leo's grandparents made the trip. But when it came time for the prayer, Leo still insisted on going first. He took Emma's hand on one side and Damien's on the other. "Dear God, thank you that Emma stayed. Thank you that Daddy smiles again. Thank you that Aunt Mia is better. Thank you for our family. Amen." Everyone echoed, "Amen." And as Emma looked around the table at the life she'd built from the ashes of everything she'd lost, she realized something. She hadn't just been hired to watch a child. She'd been brought here to save them all, including herself. They say some people come into your life for a reason. Emma Hart walked into the Cross family home as a nanny. She left as something so much more. The woman who saw what others missed. The woman who solved what experts couldn't. The woman who turned a broken family into a whole one. and the woman who proved that sometimes the person you're meant to save is yourself. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between hiding your talents and risking being hurt again? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I really want to hear your take on this one. And if this story moved you, if you felt even a glimpse of truth in their pain, please take a moment to like this video. It helps more people like you discover stories that remind us what it means to feel. Don't forget to subscribe, because the next story might just be the one that stays with you forever. This has been Obsidian Romance, where hearts remember what money forgets. Thank you for listening.